Tonight, if you think your vacation was a nightmare, wait till you see these vacations from hell.
3, 2, 1.
First, we're checking in at the Caribbean, where you want the sun and blue sky over your head. But what you get is landing gear.
Nice quiet day at the beach.
And the tropical breezes are more like turbo turrets. Blown away. But before you even get there, what can go wrong?
You should assume that this bag is going to be handled in the worst way.
Your luggage lost, found, stolen, and worse.
And then here comes the really gross part in the dirty panties.
Ah, so you found someone else's underwear in your bag?
Dirty laundry. And then, who's sitting next to you on the plane? From sexed up to taped up. All stars to amateurs. Who gets your vote for the passenger from hell?
Some people just aren't good in normal life. And then they get in a plane.
Buckle up. But can anything compare to landing in the wrong country?
We're going to Spain. And he said, Spain? What are you talking about? We're in the West Indies.
Tonight, vacations from hell.
Summertime fun. For many of us, it's about getting on a plane and landing in paradise. But for others, it can be a one-way ticket to hell that can start at the airport as soon as you check your bags.
I think I realized something was wrong when I saw the line forming, and then it really sank in when the security guards started coming in.
Just a few weeks ago, Nora Lowe of San Diego was among thousands of British Airways passengers flying out of London's Heathrow Airport, only to find when she landed there was a computer glitch and her luggage was missing.
It's horrible. For 4 days, British Airways didn't ship any luggage. They told me about 40,000 bags have been misplaced.
Did she say 40,000 bags? Nora was flying from a 2-week business trip in Amsterdam to her brother's birthday celebration in Lake Tahoe.
It completely ruined my vacation. I had about $4,000 worth of clothing in it. Not only did their customer service stop taking phone calls,
Please hang up and try your call again.
Their voicemail filled up and they weren't allowing you to leave a message.
She says days go by with no answers, so Nora wages her own war against the airline. Her ammunition? Tweets.
I just started tweeting. That's when I started to realize that there was other people that were tweeting the same, and we formed a little army and just kept retweeting.
Did it work? We'll see. Last October, Megan McCord, an Atlanta jewelry designer, had a similar hellish experience when she says she packed about $6,000 worth of her precious jewels in the suitcase she checked.
Were you nervous about the idea of checking your bag with jewelry in it?
I just sort of thought, it'll be okay. Can't carry all this stuff because it's heavy.
At the baggage carousel, anxiety.
Waiting, and then this bag never showed.
Megan was flabbergasted, but that doesn't surprise this guy. He's a professional baggage handler.
What is one of the biggest misconceptions that we have about how our bags are handled?
That we care.
William Henry has worked as a so-called rampy for 13 years. In his book, The American-Made Baggage Handler, he unloads the dark side of his profession.
You should assume that this bag is going to be handled in the worst way.
Watch. This rampy likes the pushover technique.
Now, I see a lot of these folks have been standing here for quite a while. What's going on back there?
There ain't no rush. As they deliver the bags to the claim, these bags can fall out of the cart onto the ground.
Turbulence on the tarmac, bags rolling down like tumbleweeds. Think life can be better in the front of the plane? Think again. In fact, that first-class priority tag might even make your suitcase more attractive to a sticky-fingered handler.
How does a baggage handler look into a bag? Because I imagine there are cameras all around the airport.
They find places that are not monitored.
Like these guys caught in the act on hidden cameras in the belly of a plane at JFK Airport. This one goes through a wallet and scores cash. This one snags some new headphones.
As long as they got that bag in an area that's undisclosed, unmonitored, unsupervised, they can do what they want with that bag.
Megan knows that for sure. Her missing bag finally arrived her Atlanta home 23 days later with, she says, an unwelcome surprise.
Let's put some gloves on.
Why rubber gloves? Just wait and see.
Did you recognize any of these things?
Well, these are my jeans, and they're turned inside out.
So somebody had worn these?
Yeah. Then I find shoes 2 sizes too big.
So this isn't even your shoe?
No. And then here comes the really gross part in the dirty panties.
Ah, so you found someone else's underwear in your bag?
Pre-worn underwear.
Okay.
And then comes the jewelry bag. So I open it up, and I was just devastated.
So they took all of your jewelry except for these pieces. So somebody literally took your bag and used it, got rid of your stuff, sort of swapped it out for their own?
Yeah, it felt violating.
In Los Angeles, a massive bust at L.A. International Airport.
In one of the busiest airports in the U.S., Los Angeles police recently caught baggage handlers red-handed. Chief Patrick Gannon headed the sting operation.
The pictures here that you see are the items that were recovered during the search warrants.
And what did they steal out of those bags? Cell phones, iPads, expensive jewelry, Cartier sunglasses, and $1,000 cameras.
I do think that the temptation is great, but when you take into consideration 460 theft reports, and last year it was 67 million passengers, that's really not a lot of thefts.
So how bad is it? Here are some hard numbers. According to the U.S. Department of Transportation, more than 99% of checked luggage actually arrives unscathed. But last May alone, there were almost 170,000 reports of mishandled bags in the U.S. That includes damage, delay, loss, and theft. So what's a weary traveler to do to help ensure your luggage arrives safely? First, buy a four-wheeler.
When we load a plane, if it doesn't have the wheels, they'll throw it, kick it, toss it, and with 4 wheels, they can just roll the bag.
Next, find a bag as strong as a tank.
What is this made of?
This is the same material that NFL uses for their shoulder pads and F1 uses for their racing cars.
And as secure as Fort Knox.
Luggage that does not have zippers immediately gives people who steal luggage less options.
Oh, and believe it or not, experts say don't check in too early. Just 60 to 90 minutes before takeoff can help prevent your luggage from being tossed and lost. And if you're really paranoid about keeping track of your bag, technology to the rescue. For $90, you can get a tracking device like TrackDot. I packed it in my bag on a recent trip to LA, and just after landing, ta-da, I got an alert on my phone. My suitcase was in LA too. Ah, the joys of reuniting with your bag. Now back to our unlucky traveler Nora and her Twitter war with British Airways. It's been nearly 2 months and still no luggage.
I've tweeted about this and gotten people to pay attention.
And guess who spots Nora's tweets? We did. That seems to have done the trick.
About an hour later, I got a call from British Airways saying that they were going to help me with my claim.
We reached out to British Airways, who declined to talk on camera, but did tell us this. We're very sorry that Ms. Lowe's luggage was misplaced during a time of disruption at Heathrow. But on the rare occasion we're unable to find a bag, we will make sure a customer is compensated. Well, Nora still doesn't have her bag. But just recently, she finally got a check from British Airways. $1,750 plus a $500 bonus as a goodwill gesture. About half of what she says her bag is worth.
Travel nightmare, lesson learned the hard way. I'm never gonna check a bag ever again.
Next. Okay, you're finally on the plane. But are you traveling with the passengers from hell? Everyone from crying babies to family feuds, flying the unfriendly skies when Vacations from Hell returns. Once again, Vacations from Hell.
We're talking about a volatile mixture of crowds, delays, security, fear of flying, screaming babies, and a bucket load of liquor. And anything can happen.
Check out this guy back in June, shouting at his family on a JetBlue flight, attacking flight attendants. Listen to his daughter pleading.
She must be so proud. He was handcuffed to a seat.
It's nerve-wracking because it seems to be happening more and more.
What about this? A pair of tipsy mums taking a security check too seriously. And then there's this. A sweet senior falling in with the wrong crowd en route to Cabo.
Women can pull off a
Funny man Hal Sparks has seen it all.
That some people just aren't good in normal life. And then they get in a plane and they don't understand how it stays in the air. They're slightly claustrophobic, agoraphobic. They all come together on a plane.
Heather Poole is a flight attendant. You're on the front line.
I'm the punching bag.
She says it's a potential powder keg up there.
You've got half a millimeter between the person sitting next to you, and there's 160 passengers in a flying tube at 30,000 feet.
Now for a more buttoned-down perspective, Mary Schiavo, a former Inspector General for the Department of Transportation.
Alcohol and aviation do not mix.
She's now a lawyer who defends passengers accused of being unruly.
Oh, look at that.
She's talking, you know, Kristen Wiig on Bridesmaids.
Ready to party!
Earlier this month, a Dallas to Boston flight diverted to Nashville after a female passenger, not Kristen Wiig, actually ran towards the cockpit and attacked a flight attendant. There were 8,000 reports of disruptive passengers last year alone, and for our unscientific survey of the worst airline passengers, let's just start with the naughty nakeds.
Full disclosure, I did, when I was stuck over Christmas one year, I met a girl in the airport and we pretended to be a couple so that we could get on a flight together. And by the end of the flight, we were. That's all I'm saying.
Like this pair of strangers, fined nearly $5,000 for getting ridiculously friendly on a flight from Dallas to England.
And it turns out they were each married to other people.
Even more alarming, the solo nude.
So imagine you're rolling the cart back, and you get to the last row, and there's a naked lady sitting in the row. But the great thing about her was she still had her seatbelt on.
That's just unsanitary. Next, the biggest category, the belligerent boozers. Like our duct-taped man who apparently drank a bottle of duty-free liquor on a flight from Iceland to JFK and started screaming, "The plane is gonna crash!" So he was taped to his seat. Just listen to the moaning.
50 Shades of Plane. Those are the passengers who duct taped him. Did you see that?
In-flight intoxication is such a problem in Russia that
Russian lawmakers are thinking of banning people from carrying duty-free alcohol on board.
Here's the catch, though. There is no law in Russia that would allow airlines to restrain, much less to punish, unruly customers.
Since this RT News report aired, Russia's largest carrier came out in support of making boozy behavior on board a criminal offense. Earlier this year, Jenny Lauren, niece of Ralph and apparent passenger from hell, was fined $2,700 for allegedly getting drunk and air ragey. A flight attendant claims Lauren called her a fat, ugly, unhappy blonde. Lauren pled guilty, but later told the New York Post the allegations are all lies. She claims flight attendants threatened me. The law is very strict about alcohol up in the air.
An airline cannot, by federal law, serve any passenger to the point of inebriation.
Do you cut people off if you think they're too drunk?
Of course, we have to. They might not know it. We have tricks. Their Jack and Coke might become a lot of Coke and very little Jack.
It's fine if you get drunk and just pass out.
No, it's not okay if you pass out. Something goes wrong in flight. We can't be taking 140 limp noodles by the ankles and pull them off the airplane.
Remember Gerard Depardieu?
Hello.
The inexplicably attractive star of Green Card? Apparently after a glass or two he relieved himself, not in the traditional place, but in the aisle of a plane. He came clean on the BBC's Graham Norton show.
Yes, I pee on the plane, yes.
There you have it. These days, of course, bomb threats are also a reality, and they aren't funny. Watch a SWAT team storm a plane last month after a passenger said he wanted to blow up Canada, which kind of brings us to our next category, the scofflaws of the sky. Kicking it up a notch, a couple of months ago, this happened.
Some gentleman just decided that he wanted us to visit the Lord today.
He tried to open the emergency exit at 30,000 feet en route from Chicago to Sacramento. He was arrested after an emergency landing in Omaha, subdued by a fellow passenger until the law arrived.
But still, it is little kids, raucous rugrats, who are by far considered the most unpopular passengers from hell. Even though
I really never saw an air rage incident caused by a kid. And I've never seen a drunken, disorderly kid.
they're just loud.
They need to drive or have a plane for just babies. You know, you want to scream? Go ahead, get the screaming plane. Hello, this is Glozell.
Glozell is a comedian, an internet star, and frequently furious flyer.
Get on a plane with kids and everybody's like, oh, we understand, but I don't.
So next time I take my kids home to Scotland, maybe I should take a boat?
Next, could you be checking into a killer hotel? Literally?
And we walk in and we find 2 more bodies.
Suddenly you realize that room 225 is some sort of death trap.
But is the killer still in the room with new guests checking in?
Okay, get out of the room. Everybody get out of the room.
When Vacations from Hell returns. We're back with more of Vacations from Hell.
3,000 feet up in the brisk Blue Ridge mountain air, the busy little town of Boone, North Carolina, as in Daniel Boone. He camped here, and 200 years later, the tourists are still coming.
It's a college town. It's one of those things that's like a small community. Just about everybody knows everyone.
Where everybody's welcome at the Best Western Hotel. Cable TV, buffet breakfast, an indoor heated swimming pool, one of the few in town. And something they may not tell you at the front desk. A dark secret in room 225. The guests were dying.
Tell me about the day that you decided to drive up to Boone.
We were going to pick up our daughter from science camp that she was up there in.
Jeannie Williams decided at the last minute to turn a day trip from the family farm in Rock Hill, South Carolina, into an overnight adventure for her homeschooled 11-year-old son, Jeffrey. They check into the Best Western in Boone on June 7, 2013. They were upgraded to room 225.
Was there anything unusual about the room?
No, there was nothing.
But something comes over Jeannie.
I started feeling bad and just kind of a stomach ache kind of feel. I thought maybe something I had eaten.
In the bathroom, it gets worse. 911 worse, but her phone is in the other room.
And I'm thinking, I just got to get to my phone. And then that's the last thing I remember. And I fell, I guess.
A clerk checks on room 225 and finds Jeannie and Jeffrey. They never left the room.
Ma'am, that's for 2 bodies, and I need some help up here now.
Okay, are they breathing? Are they awake?
No, okay, no, they're not. Quick, hurry.
Next thing I remember is waking up in the hospital room. I couldn't talk. I guess that was from being in a coma. He got me a notepad and a pencil or a pen because I wanted to know where Jeffrey was.
Jeannie scribbles a B for Bit, her husband's pet name for their son.
And then he said Bit. And that's when he told me that Jeffrey was with Jesus. And then he just kept telling me, be strong. I need you. I need you.
How did Jeffrey die? The first clue was in that 911 call from the Best Western.
This happened to us last month, so please come help us.
Hear that? Just happened to us last month. Then she says it again. For EMT Mike Edisman, first on the scene to rescue Jeannie Williams, the call to the Best Western and Route 225 was eerily familiar.
And I think that sounds familiar.
Turns out he had been on another call to that same room 7 weeks earlier.
I looked at my partner and I said, if I'm not mistaken, that's the same room we had the last call in.
What's your reaction?
Then we walk in and we find 2 more bodies. Same room.
Suddenly you realize that room 225 is some sort of death trap.
Yes.
4 bodies, same hotel room.
Same hotel room. And then you start thinking, you know, something's going on.
The first sign something was going on came 7 weeks before, back in April of 2013. Just like Jeannie and Jeffrey Williams, Daryl and Shirley Jenkins, a retired couple from Washington State, spent the night in room 225. When they didn't show up for breakfast, someone had gone to check on them, too.
And when she opened the door, she found Shirley lying in the front entranceway near the bathroom, and Daryl was lying in the hot tub, and they were both dead.
Hello.
Hello. Tell me what's going on there.
I just got in the room. There's two people. Neither one of them are breathing.
Neither are breathing?
No, ma'am.
Damon Malater's company managed the hotel, which is not owned by Best Western. He says he heard it was something much more mundane.
The subsequent conversations I had with the police department indicated to me that the medical examiner was telling them that he was pretty sure it was death by heart attack or natural causes.
The medical examiner, Dr. Brent Hall, had not, in fact, determined Daryl and Shirley Jenkins died of simultaneous fatal heart attacks in room 225 that April. He hadn't determined any cause of death. He had mailed off blood samples to the state lab in Raleigh, hoping they could help. Hard to imagine anything more urgent than finding and stopping the killer of that elderly couple. But for some reason, Dr. Hall did not ask the lab to put a rush on those samples.
And they sit there. They sit there for 40 days until the first test is done.
Eventually, like the morning fog that settles on this mountain town, the mystery just drifted away. Unsolved, it was as if the entire town of Boone simply shrugged.
There was no sense of urgency to figure out what happened. It was a mystery that lingered, but I don't think it was in the forefront of people's minds.
6 weeks after the Jenkins died, the hotel reopened room 225. A week after that, Jeannie Williams and her son, Jeffrey, checked in. The killer in room 225 was back.
Okay, get out of the room. Everybody get out of the room. Get out of the room. Okay, ma'am. We're out. Okay. Oh, ma'am, this is awful. Please.
When we come back, the killer revealed, and the businessman who could go to prison.
I need to go. Please. Okay.
Vacations from Hell continues.
Room 225 at the Best Western in the tourist town of Boone, North Carolina. One room in just 2 months, 3 deaths.
Elderly male, elderly female. Neither one is breathing, has CPR progress.
First, it was Daryl and Shirley Jenkins, found dead in room 225.
Is anyone there willing to attempt CPR, or do you think
doing it right now?
They are doing CPR right now?
Doing it since we found them.
Okay.
Four people working on them, and there's no response.
That was April 16th. 3 days later, the Solinsky family throws a birthday pool party and sleepover at the hotel for their daughter Levi and 8 friends. They check into room 325. No one tells them about the Jenkins tragedy in the room just below. And soon enough, they have a disaster of their own.
All girls were very sick, puking in bathtubs, sinks, toilets. While I'm calling their parents, they were falling off like flies. It was pretty scary.
Solinsky says she complained to the front desk.
I told him again in the morning, there's an environmental hazard in this room. You need to get somebody in here.
But Damon Malater, whose company managed the hotel, swears the clerk never told him.
So you were not informed by your employees that people had gotten sick in the room right above 225?
I wasn't.
And then, even though the medical examiner had not yet determined what killed the Jenkins, 6 weeks later, Malater reopened room 225.
We never would have reopened that room if we had any thoughts whatsoever that there was something wrong or that that would hurt somebody.
The death trap was ready for its next victims. Something in room 225 killed 11-year-old Jeffrey Williams and nearly took the life of his mother, Jeannie. But this time, an alert 911 operator realizes the deadly danger is right there in room 225.
Okay, I'm going to need you to just to go ahead and get out of that room. Medicate.
Okay, get out of the room. Everybody get out of the room. Get out of the room.
First responders arrive. Their hazmat detectors go crazy. They follow a toxic trail downstairs, past the pool, and at last corner the killer. A faulty pool heater which generates carbon monoxide, an odorless, invisible, and deadly gas. The heater's exhaust pipe was supposed to conduct the carbon monoxide safely outside. But hidden under a drop ceiling, right under room 225. State investigators find the pipe is busted, full of holes, propped up with a VHS cassette tape and a hotel ice bucket, spewing poison gas into the room above. Malater, the manager, says he knew nothing of these problems. Attorney Chad Petit says soon after the Jenkins were killed, their family warned the Best Western that they suspected carbon monoxide was to blame. That was before Jeffrey died.
So they were warned before Jeffrey died that there could be a carbon monoxide problem.
Absolutely.
By the family of people who had just been killed in that same room, and they didn't do anything about it.
Apparently, if they did, it wasn't enough.
The hotel manager at that time says authorities never mentioned carbon monoxide. And just this week, 2020 obtained a report by North Carolina State Licensing Authority that reveals that over the course of a decade, contractors and town inspectors missed multiple clues that may have prevented the deaths of all 3 victims.
Do you feel any responsibility for what happened?
I don't believe that anybody in any way involved, whether it be the authorities or the contractors or my employees or myself, should go to bed tonight and not feel responsibility.
But what you're saying is that doesn't mean you're criminally culpable.
I would never willfully hurt a guest if I knew that I could keep that from happening.
The most outrageous failure of all, the state tells 2020 it sent Shirley Jenkins' toxicology report showing she'd been killed by carbon monoxide to medical examiner Brent Hall on June 3rd, in plenty of time to save a little boy's life. Jeffrey Williams would not check in for another 4 days, but not a peep from Dr. Brent Hall, not a single warning.
Is it possible that had the medical examiner who had the report, the autopsy, saying that it was carbon monoxide poisoning that had killed the Jenkins in the same room in which Jeffrey Williams was staying, and he had delivered that report to the hotel or the police, Jeffrey might still be alive?
I absolutely agree with that.
We went to Dr. Hall's office where a receptionist was unreceptive.
Hi there. Yes, ma'am. I'm Matt Gutman from ABC News. Hi.
Okay, I'm not interested. Thank you.
Hall has resigned as the medical examiner. In January, a grand jury handed up indictments in the case, 3 counts of involuntary manslaughter and aggravated assault for Jeannie Williams' injuries.
The DA's office decided to submit to the grand jury one name, and that name being Barry Damon Malater.
How often do you think about this?
Every day.
That boy, that elderly couple.
Every day. I need to go.
Unlike smoke detectors, there is no federal requirement for carbon monoxide detectors in hotel rooms. Some states, now including North Carolina, do require them. Pennsylvania does not. That's where another Best Western hotel pool heater malfunctioned over the weekend, coughing carbon monoxide into the rooms. 200 people were evacuated, 28 of them sent to area hospitals. So, turning grief into good works, the Williams family created jeffreysfoundation.org to raise awareness about carbon monoxide poisoning.
And it's very simple. Carbon monoxide detectors are cheap in the grand scheme of life.
Next. Extreme vacations or just extreme craziness? From arch swinging to water slides to skydiving that almost became sky dying.
And I literally looked up and said, this is what a dead person sees.
We're strapping you in to see how he lived to tell when Vacations from Hell returns. Once again, Vacations from Hell.
3, 2, 1. Sometimes on summer vacations, people go crazy. Oh my God. Earlier this month, these guys turned a trip downstream into this crazy stunt. In June, these guys decided it was a perfect day to jump off these cliffs into that raging current below. In July, I was in Kansas City for the opening of the world's largest water slide. And out in Utah, so many people are taking a death-defying leap to swing off of this natural arch that the feds just announced they're considering making it illegal. Most of us will never do these things. But skydiving, that's another story. Even former President George Bush Sr. does it. He celebrated his 85th birthday skydiving 5 summers ago and was back out there again this June for his 90th. Oh, yeah. Skydiving is such a thrill, people jump over 3 million times a year. What could possibly turn that euphoria from the heavens into a vacation from hell story?
Do you have any inkling that anything was going wrong or could have gone wrong?
No.
Craig Stapleton knows he wasn't on vacation, but his day started out like he was, without a care in the world.
We're ready.
When he got into the plane last year, this champion skydiver already had 7,000 jumps under his chute. Craig leapt out full of confidence from the usual 8,000 feet. The plan was to do a jump like this, unfurling an American flag with his teammates in the sky above Lodi, California. But maybe a minute into the plunge, the plan goes horribly wrong.
I know I'm in serious trouble.
This is actual video of the jump. At 5,000 feet, his lines are tangled with the flag, his parachute useless.
3 or 4 seconds into the whole malfunction, I knew I was a dead man. I can't see the ground coming at me because it's still too far away, but I can hear the wind, and it's not good news. At that point, we're probably doing 60 or 70 miles an hour straight at the ground, helicoptering around.
So the chances were, as you're falling towards the ground, that you were going to die.
I really felt I was on my last moments. Spinning out of control, hurtling at the earth. You got to fight down the panic of, this is it. I mean, your brain starts banging through ideas right now. What have you got to do? What do you got to do? What do you got to do? And as I got lower and lower, I was really thinking about my teammates, my family, what I was going to miss out on.
At 4,000 feet, the only hope left is reserve parachute.
And I pull the reserve, the parachute comes out.
You can see the reserve parachute on this shot. It's that white speck. But it doesn't work. It gets sucked right into the tangled lines of the orange chute.
And I literally looked up and said, this is what a dead person sees.
This is what a dead man sees.
This is what a dead man sees.
Only 1,000 feet below is a vineyard. Not only are the grapevines jagged and as hard as tree branches, there are also giant telephone poles with cables and wires surrounding the field. Landing on the wrong spot could leave him dismembered or even impaled. That's Craig right there, in the final seconds, curling up as expert skydivers are trained to do. With the end so near, interestingly, he says at this point, he's feeling at peace.
It was quiet, and then just whoom.
His partners land within seconds and sprint towards him, not knowing what to expect.
You know, I thought I was watching my friend about to die. Don't move, Craig! Don't move!
This is the best stuff you could land on right there.
Call it luck. Call it divine intervention.
I missed the wires. I missed the stakes. I hit the soft dirt that they plowed.
I mean, we're talking about 4 feet.
Yeah.
He's alive! Call for help!
Within 10 minutes, he's on his way to the ER.
No pun intended, but the sky's the limit in terms of injuries. Anything could have happened to him.
But incredibly, beyond his obvious bruises, MRIs and X-rays show no serious internal injuries.
Not a single broken bone.
No broken bones.
Not a sprained ankle. Sprained wrist.
Nope. Miracles can happen.
We don't know where Craig plans to take his next vacation, but if there's a chance to skydive, he'll be there, fearless as ever.
So is it testing fate to go back out there?
I don't think so. I think
you got a freebie. You should have been dead, and you survived.
Then I should just, every day's a bonus day. Go spend it right.
Next, sand, surf, and sonic booms? Photo fake-outs that can make your vacation paradise seem closer to purgatory, like a landing strip right next door.
It's so loud when those planes come through.
when Vacations from Hell returns. Vacations from Hell continues.
When it comes to vacations, you never know quite what you're going to get until you get there.
It's a bed bug on the bed.
No, it's not.
Stain on the sheets. I have very loud neighbors.
So I was tasked with a simple mission to see just how accurate those hotel marketing photos really are. As I boarded the plane to the Caribbean, I was still a bit hesitant to trade the gray skies of New York City for the turquoise shores of St. Martin. St. Martin is known for its white sandy beaches, sparkling seas, fine hotels, and those blaring 747s. Princess Juliana International is not just an airport, it's a tourist trap. Every few minutes on the beach, at the hotel, at the bar, planes take off or land all day long. On average, 60 planes land here every day. And even though we'd seen the videos on YouTube, nothing could have prepared us for the plane departures. Tourists from far and wide throw caution to the wind. They curl their fingers around the chain link fence and hold on for dear life.
I had no idea it was going to be that strong.
Tagging along with us, travel expert extraordinaire Jane Reynolds from Oyster.com, a travel review site owned by TripAdvisor. Their site is where the so-called photo fake-out is exposed. Our first stop, the Royal Palm Beach Resort. Their site boasts an inviting pool, a welcoming lobby. Both are, of course, empty in the online pictures. But when we visited, not exactly what we saw online.
I think everyone on our plane is here.
Our check-in, a 45-minute ordeal. Next, we head over to the storied French side.
Taking in an amazing view. What do you think so far?
So far, this hotel really bills itself accurately. It's on a beautiful piece of land looking over the water.
This hotel came the closest to being as advertised, but we did learn another valuable lesson. Just take a look at this online picture of the hotel pool. The photo is cropped, but in reality, there wasn't much pool to crop out.
The pool here is really more akin to a bathtub.
They told us they're in the process of upgrading their photos. But a small pool paled in comparison to what we experienced at our next stop, Mary's Boom. One of the selling points in the description is that it's tucked away and conveniently near to the action. But maybe a little too close. The site says that it's just south of the airport. And while we all enjoy the convenience of an airport hotel, come on.
It's so loud when those planes come through.
And just people who are looking to get away, it's not what you're signing up for.
It's not the relaxing, hidden gem, tranquil experience that you're expecting.
While some were accurate portrayals and some were not, after all those hotel check-ins, I was more than ready to check out. At least with the airport so close, I didn't have trouble making my flight. But for one Maryland-based man, his trip wasn't about the photos. The airport is where all his problems began. Granada, Spain, a gorgeous city tucked away in the shadow of the Alhambra Castle, the birthplace of flamenco dancing. For Dr. Edward Gamson and his partner, it was a dream vacation.
I had a conference in Lisbon, Portugal, and I saw that as my opportunity to finally get to Spain.
But there was one major issue: spelling. Granada is spelled similarly to a small island nearly 4,000 miles away.
Within 20 minutes of departing, and we look at this little monitor in front of us, and the plane's heading west. So I go up to the flight attendant and said, "Why west? Why not south? We're going to Spain." And he said, "Spain? What are you talking about? We're going to Grenada. We're in the West Indies." And my heart just dropped.
To turn this hellish trip around, Dr. Gamson and his partner flew from Washington, D.C. to London, from London to St. Lucia, then to Grenada, back to St. Lucia, then Miami, across the Atlantic to London, and finally Lisbon. 3 days, 7 flights. And now, no time for the Alhambra Castle.
Does any of the burden fall on you that you ended up in the wrong place?
I don't feel that way because when I booked it with British Air, not only was I specific on city and country, but I even gave airport codes.
British Airways tells us they've offered Dr. Gamson and his partner extensive assistance, including new flights to Granada, Spain, flights to an alternate destination, and frequent flyer points. He disputes those offers were made and sued for $34,000.
It sounds like a lot, but it's a composition of the prepaid expenses, the cost of the flights, and this is a first-class flight, and the fact that the two of us obviously did not have a vacation. What was our time if we were working?
Just last week, the court decided his claim had no merit.
Is this your worst vacation ever?
Yeah.
Everything that kills me makes me feel alive.
The results are in, and it will be Republican incumbent Rick